Right now, somewhere near you, a flower is glowing in a pattern you will never see. Not because it's hidden, not because it's rare. It's sitting in plain sight, fully lit, completely visible, just not to you. A bee flying past that same flower sees something completely different. Bold stripes, glowing target patterns, a runway of light pointing straight at the nectar. To you, it's just a plain yellow petal. To the bee, it's practically lit up with a sign. Same flower, same sunlight. Two completely different pictures of reality. The gap between what you see and what that bee sees comes down to a single sliver of the light spectrum, ultraviolet. And once you understand why humans lost access to it, you start to realize just how much of the world around you has been quietly invisible your entire life. Let's start with what light actually is, because this only makes sense once you see the bigger picture. Visible light, the rainbow of colors you can see, is just one narrow band sitting inside a much larger spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. Radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, they're all the exact same fundamental phenomenon, just vibrating at different frequencies. Your eyes only evolved to detect one small window of that entire range, roughly 400 to 700 nanometers. Ultraviolet light sits just below that window. At a shorter wavelength, your visual system was never built to register. So why do humans get stuck with such a narrow slice when plenty of animals see a wider one? The answer starts inside your eyeball, specifically with a small structure called the lens. Human eyes contain a natural lens that focuses light onto the retina, and that lens is very good at one job in particular: blocking ultraviolet radiation from ever reaching the light-sensitive cells behind it. It acts almost like built-in sunglasses that never come off. This isn't an accident or a design flaw, it's actually protective. Ultraviolet light carries more energy than visible light, and that extra energy can damage delicate tissue over time. The lens absorbing UV radiation before it hits the retina helps prevent a specific kind of long-term harm to the light-sensitive cells you depend on for everyday vision. In a strange way, humans traded the ability to see an entire band of light in exchange for protecting the vision they already had. And there's real-world proof of exactly how this trade-off works from an unexpected source: cataract surgery. When someone gets an artificial lens implanted after cataract surgery, some older lens designs don't block UV light the way a natural human lens does. Patients with these lenses have reported seeing a faint bluish-white tinge to sunlight, and in rare documented cases, described being able to perceive something resembling ultraviolet light for the first time in their lives. Remove the natural filter, and suddenly, a piece of the invisible spectrum becomes visible. The wiring in the retina and brain was capable of processing it. The lens was the only thing standing in the way. This is exactly what makes bird vision so wildly different from ours. Many birds have a lens that lets far more ultraviolet light through, combined with an extra type of color receptor in the retina that humans simply don't have. Most humans have 3 types of cone cells in the eye, tuned to red, green, and blue wavelengths. Many bird species have a 4th cone type tuned specifically to ultraviolet. That's not a minor upgrade. It's an entirely additional channel of color information layered on top of the 3 humans already process. Some birds use this ability constantly in ways that would completely reshape how you experience the world if you had it too. Certain songbird feathers reflect UV patterns invisible to a human observer, but strikingly obvious to another bird, functioning almost like a hidden signal only members of the same species can read. A male and female of some species can look almost identical to us, while looking completely distinct to each other under ultraviolet vision. Kestrels take it even further, using UV vision to spot the urine trails small rodents leave behind, trails that glow under ultraviolet light, and effectively function as a glowing trail map leading straight to prey. Insects push this even further into territory that barely resembles human vision at all. Bees see ultraviolet as a genuine, distinct color, not an add-on but a core part of how they perceive the world. Many flowers have evolved UV reflecting patterns specifically because bees can see them, patterns invisible to humans but glaringly obvious to a bee, guiding it directly toward the nectar like a landing strip. This is one of the clearest examples of coevolution in nature. Flowers didn't develop these patterns for us. They developed them entirely for an audience whose visual system operates on a completely different band of light than ours does. Reindeer offer maybe the strangest example of all, because their UV vision solves an extremely specific survival problem. In the Arctic, snow reflects visible light almost uniformly, which would make spotting predators or food nearly impossible if you were limited to normal color vision in that kind of blinding white environment. But reindeer eyes can detect ultraviolet light, and certain things that would blend into snow under visible light, like predator fur or lichen the reindeer feed on, absorb ultraviolet light instead of reflecting it. Under UV vision, those objects appear as dark, high-contrast shapes standing out sharply against the snow. What looks like a featureless white landscape to a human becomes a landscape full of visible detail to a reindeer. So if UV vision offers all these advantages, why didn't humans evolve to keep it, or evolve it further? Some evidence suggests early primates and possibly early humans may have had greater UV sensitivity at some point in evolutionary history. Over time, as primates developed sharper daytime color vision and increasingly relied on detailed focus for tasks like identifying ripe fruit or reading facial expressions at close range, the trade-off tipped in favor of blocking UV light more aggressively to protect visual sharpness rather than preserving the ability to see it. Evolution doesn't hand you every advantage at once. It optimizes for whatever mattered most to your ancestors' actual survival. And for early primates, that appears to have been sharp, detailed color vision rather than an extra UV channel. There's also a simpler mechanical explanation worth considering. Human eyes are larger and more complex than most insect or bird eyes, with a more sophisticated lens system built for fine detail and depth perception. That added complexity comes with trade-offs, and one of them appears to be the more aggressive UV filtering built into the human lens. None of this means ultraviolet light is entirely absent from human experience, though. You've almost certainly seen its effects without realizing it. Sunburn is UV radiation damaging skin cells. Certain minerals and some biological materials glow under UV blacklight, an effect called fluorescence, where the material absorbs invisible ultraviolet energy and re-emits it as visible light your eyes can actually detect. Scorpions, for reasons scientists still don't fully understand, fluoresce a striking blue-green under UV light, something researchers use to survey scorpion populations in the field at night using nothing more than a UV flashlight. You're not seeing raw ultraviolet light in these moments. You're seeing the secondary visible glow it produces once it interacts with certain materials, which is the closest most humans ever get to witnessing this part of the spectrum directly. Some animals go even further than birds, bees, and reindeer. Certain species of shrimp, along with a handful of other marine animals, possess among the most complex visual systems ever documented, with far more types of color receptors than the human eye contains. Some tune deep into both the ultraviolet and infrared ends of the spectrum simultaneously. Researchers still don't fully understand how their brains process and interpret all of that raw visual information at once. It's possible their subjective visual experience is so different from anything a human eye produces that we don't yet have an adequate way to even describe what it might be like. Which brings up the real point buried underneath all of this. What you call reality, the version of the world you walk through and take completely for granted, is really just one narrow interpretation of a much larger physical phenomenon. Bees are looking at target patterns on flowers you'll never see. Reindeer are looking at a snowy landscape full of hidden detail you'll never see. Birds are reading signals written in a color you don't even have a name for. None of them are seeing more of reality than you are, and you're not seeing less of it than them. You're each seeing a different narrow slice of the exact same electromagnetic spectrum shaped entirely by whatever your ancestors happened to need in order to survive. The world was never just one fixed picture waiting to be observed. It's an entire spectrum, and every species on this planet is only ever looking at its own small window into it.